Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, and certainly, here's a detailed historical account of two of the deadliest dictatorships in modern history, Joseph Stalin's rule in the Soviet Union and Mao Zedong's regime in China, focusing on their rise to power, policies, atrocities, and long-term impact. Joseph Stalin, 1878-1953, leader of the Soviet Union, 1924-1953, estimated deaths, 10-20 million, some estimates exceed 20 million, rise to power. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin outmaneuvered political rivals like Trotsky, Zinoviev, and Bukharin. He consolidated power by controlling the Communist Party's bureaucratic apparatus, policies, and atrocities. Forced collectivization, 1928-1933, Stalin aimed to consolidate individual farms into large, state-controlled ones, resulted in widespread famine, especially in Ukraine. Holodomor, 1932-33. Estimated deaths, 4 to 7 million. The Great Purge, 1936-1938. Stalin eliminated perceived enemies within the Communist Party, military, and intelligentsia. Show trials, torture, and mass executions were common. Estimated deaths, 600,000 down 1. 2 million 3. Gulag system massive network of labor camps across Siberia and continuing with Stalin and then moving to Mao Zedong. Policies and atrocities continued. Gulag system millions were sent to forced labor camps, gulags, for real or imagined. Political crimes, minor offenses, or being enemies of the people. Conditions were brutal. Starvation, hard labor, cold, disease. Estimated number of people imprisoned, 18 million. Deaths, 1.5 to 3 million. World War II. Repressions. During and after the war, Stalin deported entire ethnic groups, e.g., Chechens, Crimean Tatars, Volga Germans, accused of disloyalty. Many died in transit or exile due to harsh conditions. Turned the USSR into a global superpower, but at immense human cost. Left behind a culture of fear, repression, and centralized authoritarianism. His death in 1953 led to a brief thaw under Khrushchev, who denounced him in the famous secret speech, 1956. Mao Zedong, 1893-1976, founding father of the People's Republic of China, 1949-1976, estimated deaths, 40 to 70 million, highest in human history for a single regime. Rise to power, rose through the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, during the 1920s, 1930s. Gained national prominence after the Long March, 1934-1935, defeated the nationalist Kuomintang, KMT, under Chiang Kai-shek in the Chinese Civil War, established the People's Republic of China in 1949. Policies and atrocities, land reform and suppression of class enemies, 1949-1953, land seized from landlords and redistributed to peasants, mass executions of landlords and counter-revolutionaries, estimated deaths, 1 to 2 million. The Great Leap Forward, 1958-1962, attempt to rapidly industrialize and collectivize agriculture. Massive communes were created, and peasants were forced to give up land. Poor planning, false reporting, and grain requisitioning led to the worst famine in history. Estimated deaths, 30-45 million. The Cultural Revolution, 1966-1976. Mao, fearing he was losing control, launched a campaign to purify Chinese culture and eliminate bourgeois elements. Red Guards, mostly youth, attacked intellectuals, officials, and even Mao's old allies. Universities closed, cultural relics destroyed, and widespread torture, public humiliation, and killings occurred. Estimated deaths, 1 to 2 million. Millions more tortured, imprisoned, or sent to rural re-education. Left China devastated culturally, economically, and socially by 1976. Despite this, Mao remains officially respected in China, credited for unifying the country and resisting Western imperialism. Deng Xiaoping, Mao's successor, later denounced Aspects of Mao's rule while continuing to uphold his symbolic stature. Comparative overview. Feature: Joseph Stalin. Mao Zedong Joseph Stalin rule period. 1924–1953 estimated deaths 10–20 million major catastrophe. Holodomor, Great Purge, Gulag totalitarian, cult of personality central planning, collectivization, superpower but deeply repressive. Mao Zedong 1949–1976 estimated death 40–70 million Great Leap Forward, cultural revolution, political style totalitarian, cult of personality economic policy unified China, but immense suffering, legacy ideological motivations. Both Stalin and Mao ruled under the banner of Marxism-Leninism, but adapted it in highly authoritarian, nationalistic, and personal ways. Stalin's ideology: socialism in one country. Stalin's break from Trotsky's idea of global revolution, focused on strengthening the USSR, emphasized heavy industrialization and absolute loyalty to the Communist Party. Repression was justified as a means of protecting the revolution from enemies within, created a cult of personality portraying himself as Lenin's true heir. Mao's ideology focused on peasant-based revolution, diverging from Soviet Marxist orthodoxy, which emphasized the urban proletariat, emphasized mass mobilization, revolutionary zeal, and continuous struggle to avoid capitalist backsliding. Mao's Cultural Revolution was ideologically aimed at preserving revolutionary fervor. In reality, it was also a political purge. Also cultivated a powerful cult of personality, e.g., the Little Red Book, portraits, slogans. Consequences for society domain. Stalin's USSR, Mao's China education. Highly censored, pro-regime propaganda schools shut during Cultural Revolution, freedom of speech almost none. Harsh censorship and surveillance, similar. Dissenters were purged or re-educated. Culture-controlled art, literature, media, socialist realism. Four olds destroyed. Culture, customs, ideas, habits. Economy industrialized, but inefficient and brutal repeatedly. Devastated by ideological campaigns. Science, innovation suppressed under political pressure. Lysenkoism. Set back decades by persecution of experts, global impact, and historical legacy. Stalin played a major role in defeating Nazi Germany in W2, helped shape the Cold War world order, controlled Eastern Europe post-1945. His methods inspired both fear and emulation across the communist world. Modern Russia under Putin selectively praises Stalin for strong leadership while avoiding open discussion of his crimes. Mao inspired communist insurgencies globally, Vietnam, Cambodia, Nepal, etc. Created a model of autocratic socialism with Chinese characteristics. Modern China, under the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, still reveres Mao symbolically, though his policies are officially criticized, especially the Great Leap Forward. Post-Mao China began opening to market reforms under Deng Xiaoping, 1978, dramatically shifting course economically, but retaining one-party rules. Samurai Stalin, a single death is a tragedy. A million deaths is a statistic. Attributed, though disputed, widely cited as illustrating Stalin's cold pragmatism. Ideas are more powerful than guns. We would not let our enemies have guns. Why should we let them have ideas? Mao political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Famous line reflecting Mao's belief in violent revolution. Let 100 flowers bloom, let 100 schools of thought contend, used to encourage free expression briefly, but led to the persecution of those who criticized the regime. Summary: Stalin and Mao were two of the most destructive dictators in modern history, responsible for tens of millions of deaths through state-engineered famines, purges, repression, and ideological extremism, turning revolutionary ideals into brutal authoritarian regimes, permanently reshaping the countries they ruled, both politically and psychologically. Though their regimes are often remembered for economic modernization and national unification, the human cost was catastrophic. Their legacies are still debated today, often used by modern authoritarian regimes as symbols of strength, while their victims are still seeking historical recognition and justice.